Pretties. Okay, here we go. Pretties. Okay, here we go. Pretties.
Maximize your recording volume.
I can't add to it, unfortunately.
What do you mean?
I can only subtract decibels. I can't add to it, unfortunately. What do you mean?
See how faint
It's very
that is?
quiet. It's very faint. You know what we're going to do? We're going to add the iPhone microphone. Alright, how's this? You know what we're going to do? We're going to add the iPhone microphone. Alright, how's this? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
You got that echo.
And why do I have this echo?
Two microphones.
Right, and they're not as perfectly timed together.
Is there another way of altering the volume on using your computer? You know, the sound controls in your settings on your computer?
I have no idea.
Well, try it.
I have no idea even what you're talking about.
Okay, let me show you on this side. See this down here?
Yeah?
I can do this. I can go into that and sound output. Oh no, that's the sound output. I want my microphone. I don't have a mic. Oh, yes, I have this microphone.
Okay, input. You're right. Here we go. Look at this input volume's not all the way up. You're right. Here we go. Look at this input volume.
Did you change it?
Okay, that's not with this yet. Hold on. Let me now turn off the iPhone mic. Okay, that's not with this yet. Hold on. Let me now turn off the iPhone mic. That's not with this yet. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. That's better.
Okay, how far up did you put it? Why did you close it on the monitor?
Habit.
Just keep it open until you got it right. Okay, where's the input volume switch?
Yeah.
So you maximized it?
Maximized it.
Okay, where's the input volume switch? Yeah. So you maximized it?
Maximized it.
Sound effects, place. You don't want sound effects. Sound effects, place. You don't want sound effects. No, your sound is off here, though, right? You're not. Okay. Your sound feedback.
All right, pause that. Or not pause it. Mute it. Okay, now unmute it. I want to see what this here sounds like. Okay, now unmute it. I want to see what this here sounds like. That's good. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, now unmute it. I want to see what this here sounds like. That's good. Okay, let's get a stool from Mom and then we're ready to go. Okay, let's get a stool from Mom and then we're ready to go.
That's not a stool.
It's not. I forgot we don't have stools in the kitchen like I thought. Like I remembered. Alright, you can cut the volume on that so we don't have as much feedback or whatever. Okay, great job everybody. So mom's gonna sit there. Alright, so you can turn this way. Get your back against there. Okay, excellent. Great. Lean forward like you'll be leaning forward to look at this. Good, lean forward like that. That's great. Excellent. Alright, that's good enough for me. Now we just need Mother. Mother! Great job.
Why are you live while we're doing this preparation, though?
Because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do an audio test. What do you mean? How are you going to see us on there?
Can I scoop this in?
And also, this is the raw material. This is the raw philosophy. I'm not the person who transmits it. You can't worry about everything. You understand?
Let's get going. Let's go. Come on.
No, I'm going to respond to you because you asked a very important question. Since we're live, I want people to hear the response. This is like reading, the old journals, right? And then someone else is going to polish it, and then someone else is going to polish it more, and so on. You feel me? Because if I worried about polishing and the actual ideas and the questions and so on, I wouldn't get anything done. Okay, so we're doing the emotions chapter. We read, you gotta lean the other way.
What other way?
Well, just look over there if you're confused.
Who's that in that black and white picture?
That's
now,
me,
come
bro.
on, we're trying to do this.
Because I actually want to be able to lean into the frame here.
Yes.
So maybe if I'll open the frame a little bit. There we go. That's it. Perfect.
That is you.
Okay, you're doing great, buddy. And remember, this is live. So big smiles all around and no gum in your mouth. Okay, here we go. So you're doing the monk, and she's going to hand it to you when it's the monk, and she'll hand it to me when it's the neuroscientist. Great.
Okay. So, what are emotions? What's the that's the $1 million question.
Do I get $1 million if I answer it? I guess emotions are really a bodily state of thinking. We can almost always point to a place in our body where we feel we're holding an emotion. Love is in the chest. Fear is in the gut. Anger in the shoulders. We think of those phrases as metaphors, but emotions are how the brain and the body communicate.
If I wanted to locate an emotion, where in the brain would I be looking? I always like to know where everything is, like on a Google map.
The first place you'd look is in the limbic system. The first place you'd look is in the limbic system. That includes brain areas that control hormones like the hypothalamus, structures that control memory like the hippocampus, and arousal areas like the cingulate cortex. From there, you can add the amygdala for fear, the nucleus accumbens for reward, and the orbital frontal cortex for behavioral inhibition.
I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Turbot, make it simple for me.
Okay. Emotions are just thoughts with bells on. Why do we have them? Sometimes they let us know who we are and what makes us tick, but at other times they make us suffer when they're negative and we don't know how to let go. Just as with thoughts, we can learn to observe emotions, both positive and negative, without latching onto them or thinking they're solid or real.
But there must be some physical signature in the body for us to translate. When we feel a pang in our chest, how do we know if it's love or acid reflux, to me, they feel the same. I wasn't sure when I met Ed if he was the one or if I had eaten a bad pickle. A stab of fear in the abdomen can always be confusing. Worry or wind. Call the police or find a toilet. So physically, is there something going on different when you have heartburn or heartbreak?
There's definitely an overlap. Emotional pain activates the same centers in the brain as physical pain. When you have an emotional sense of suffering, your brain treats that the same as a bodily injury. When your feelings are hurt and you feel a stab in your stomach, your brain is reacting the same way as if you were actually physically stabbed.
So what about happiness?
Well, the body and brain respond a lot to negative events, but they respond less to happiness. It's too bad, because when you're happy, you tend not to notice, but when you're injured, you can't think about anything else.
So this suggests that happiness would optimally be our default state. When we're unhappy, we feel that error signal. Maybe emotions are signaling to us that we're off balance, and we tend to feel sensations in specific locations when we're upset. But happiness isn't that easy to locate. It feels more generalized, as if it's natural.
I can locate happiness. It feels like my chest is drinking champagne. It's throwing up a lot of bubbles.
What do you mean your breasts are bubbling?
Why do you always go to the lowest common denominator? The naughty boy stuff. The more they're educated, the smuttier their minds are. What do you think, Turbot? Tupton, when I say chest.
I'm still thinking about the bad pickle that Ed gave you.
Turbot?
Tupton?
Come back to us. What do you think happiness is? Don't say a bad pickle.
Maybe we could redefine our idea of happiness. Many people think of it as a buzz which you get from some kind of trigger, but that kind of dependency leads to grasping. Grasping always makes us feel that things are never enough, and then we get disappointment. Instead, I would aim for a stable sense of inner contentment which doesn't require a trigger, something which lasts and is constant.
Can't we stop the gasping?
Don't we reward gasping as a society? It shows that you're ambitious, a go-getter. Rewarding a habit makes it hard to break. We have this myth that high achievement leads to happiness because we just ignore all the times that it doesn't.
The reason people want to achieve success is to find happiness, so why not just cut out the middleman and be happy?
Well, achievement does lead to progress, but frantic achievement can come at the cost of burnout. It's hard to know if it's worth it. When you look at an American pro footballer who drives himself incredibly hard when he's young, he's the king of the world. He's the high school hero. We worship these guys. There was a big spread in the New York Times magazine about this recently, and I almost wet myself when I saw it. Neurologists have been talking about this for a long time, but we felt like no one was listening. The Times printed page after page of photographs of brain sections from National Football League players. That's the top professional league in America. Out of 111 brains that they examined, 110 showed significant evidence of brain injury due to repeated concussion. Those guys hit each other with the same force as running into a brick wall at 30 miles an hour. Their brain injuries resulted in personality changes, depression, divorce, and in some cases even suicide. There are a few years of stratospheric success, which most of us assume would bring them happiness. But honestly, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Decades of suffering that follow? How much should we pay for success?
That's what I'm saying. That high comes at a great cost, but what with mindfulness you can find real stable contentment.
Someone's going to read this book and think, why is the monk always going on about mindfulness?
He does seem a bit obsessed.
Oh, and he's always at it. Sometimes when I'm coming down the stairs, he's sitting there with his eyes shut, and I don't trip over him thinking he's a fire hydrant.
And you do trip over him thinking he's a fire hydrant.
Oh, and I do trip over him thinking he's a fire hydrant. Ash, if you had had a choice of being a neuroscientist or understanding mindfulness, which one would you go for? Would you have the inner smarts or the inner peace?
I think I'd choose the inner peace. But it's not easy. I grew up with the high achievement thing too. The first time Tupton and I did mindfulness, I found the whole thing really difficult. I was doing okay, but then for some reason I suddenly felt depressed. I don't know what about. Then my back started to hurt and I felt desperate to move. Actually desperate to stop doing the mindfulness exercise. Then I started to feel like a loser because Tupton could sit there. And then I felt like a loser about being a loser. Afterwards, I asked Tupton about that, and he said that those overwhelming feelings were just thoughts. That was a big light bulb moment for me, that my random little thought that I forgot to buy stamps wasn't any different from my sadness that I haven't won a Nobel Prize. For me, it was profound to realize that both are just brain activity.
Exactly. Just thoughts with bells on.
Okay, Tupton, I want to ask you about all these difficult emotions like anger or fear that we try to avoid. Have you ever been depressed?
Yes. I got depressed in my retreat. It was very serious and lasted for half the year.
For half the retreat, wow.
Ooh, how long was that?
It was a 4-year retreat. I remember crying a lot and feeling like a failure for being depressed. At times, felt like a knife was twisting in my heart. It was physically painful.
Well, thanks for opening up to us about this.
Yeah. I can see how it's getting to
I
you.
felt suicidal, almost gave up the retreat.
But you made it. You made it.
But part of me
What part of you wanted to what?
to fix this thing, and there was nowhere to go. I could go except to learn to engage properly with the medication.
With the meditations.
Good. It worked.
I could leave, but I didn't want to. Things clicked when I discovered how to drop the storyline and relate to the feelings
Take your time.
in a compassionate way, just as you would as with a frightened friend. The pain in my chest started to change, and it turned into a kind of joyful feeling.
Oh, and if I heard correctly, that second last sentence was that things clicked when you discovered how to drop the storyline and relate to the feeling in a compassionate way, just as you would sit with a frightened friend?
I know how to access it.
Oh, no, I was just confirming that, okay.
Yeah, because you were so emotional.
Yeah.
Do you always have that joyful feeling these days?
Well, as I said before, I know how to access it.
Wow, what an example. It's interesting that when you stopped pushing the emotions away, the physical pain lifted too. That's a real resolution. We can push emotions to one side, but the body will remember.
Oh, where are the emotions in your body? Like, does your arm get depressed, or your left foot has a bad hair day?
Emotions aren't in a particular place. They come out of the communication between your brain and body. And that's a two-way street. So if you're depressed, even your muscles work differently from when you're in a good mood. For example, posture really affects emotions. Jonathan Miller, who is both a neurologist and a theater director, tells a story about working with a talented soprano on an opera. Jonathan had a very precise kind of sadness that he wanted the singer to produce, but he couldn't describe it to her. Instead, he slumped into his chair in a certain way, with his limbs dangling off the edges, and he asked the singer to copy his body posture. She was instantly able to sing exactly the sort of sadness he had in mind.
Wow.
Her body understood something that words couldn't convey. I think that shows how emotion is very much a thing that the body does. It feeds information to the brain.
your body makes a phone call to the brain and says, hey, I'm miserable down here.
Yeah, that's about it.
If you're not pushing the feeling away, you're allowing the body and brain to have that conversation without you getting in the way. Then there's a possibility for transformation.
I love that saying. If you run away, the monsters chase you. But if you turn and face it, it runs away.
Very good. And now, in a slightly different voice, can you read this?
You'll find the relevant mindfulness exercises for emotions in Chapter 11.
Well, we can just ask Tupton for mindfulness exercises.
Yes, Tupton, you did the 4-year retreat.
Great. Well, not now. We'll ask him. Great. And so then next, so that's it. That's it. Everybody's going to be released. Just a closing remark. First of all, thank you to Father. Thank you to Mother. So Father was playing the role of the monk, Tupton.
Raise your hand so they know you're.
Yeah, good. And this is Mother. She was playing the role of the author Ruby. And I, Eris, was playing the role of the neuroscientist. Later today, I'm going to read from the chapter The Body. And then, guess what? At some point in the next few days, I'm going to be able to sit back down with a monk and a neuroscientist, or with Ruby and a... Well, anyway, I'll play one of the roles, and 2 other people play the other roles, and we're going to do the body script. But we don't want to overwhelm anybody, so we're going to close out for now.
Yes. We'll see you soon.
Thumbs up, everybody.
Thumbs up, everybody.